All right, we're back for another Friday financial wrap up with Mr. Michael Zuber. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing good, man. I love these interviews. I love putting a capstone on the week, and I actually love what you decided to do today. I think today's a special day, something we don't normally do. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, this is great. So Michael and I pre-roll, we said, hey, let's do a show. Let's talk about 2025. What can we expect for the new year? Let's get right into it. Interest rates. What a surprise the last 8 weeks. What do you see with interest rates today? And then even more importantly, going forward into 2025?
Yeah, one of the things I'm very proud of is we got the rate call right. Again, a lot of people 8 weeks ago were talking 5.5. And even when we were at 6.1, 6.2, I'm like, I don't see the setup to get there. I think we're going to be higher for longer. And I've been as bold to say is I think the average 30-year mortgage rate home buyers is going to be 7% for the year in 2025. Now, again, that's the average. So maybe in the beginning of the year, we're 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. End of the year, we're 6.8, 6.9, 7. So, but when you look at the year, it's going to be higher for longer. So that is going to have ripple impacts. If everything for me in 2025 starts with my interest rate call. If I'm wrong and rates crash to 5.5, pretty much everything else I say will be wrong. But again, I like making bold calls. I like looking at the setup. I've been certainly more right than wrong when we look at the 5 years of my track record. So I'm admittedly making a very bold call. I certainly see the first half of the year above 7, and thus the call for an average of 7. So that's where I start. Higher for longer. I think the Fed's going to cut a lot less than people expect. I actually think, Ty, one of my scariest thoughts, now this is not my base case, but it's non-zero. It's not a zero possibility. There's a chance that the first rate move in 25 is up, not down. Think about that.
Interesting. Yeah.
So again, I think higher for longer. I don't think people are set up. I don't think people understand. I don't think people are ready to understand what 7% average mortgage rates will mean for the housing market in 2025.
Yeah. And I would wholeheartedly agree with you. I think if we look back, like say 10 weeks ago, we talked about, and I believe you had a call, you had a range. And I think your range, when we were at about 6.1, I think you had a range of like 5.7 to 6.3 or 6.4. Like is that right?
Yeah, it was certainly higher than most. Yeah, it was something in the high 5s to the mid 6s. And again, when the setup started to change in the long end of the bond market, I was like, this is a bad call. We got that wrong. We're going higher for longer. So absolutely right.
Yeah. And and again, we see a lot of people, at that time they were saying, oh, we're going to 4.5, 4.9. And even I was going maybe 5, 5.25, 5.5, maybe. But again, higher for longer is definitely the theme. I think too, there's a lot more going on than just the Fed. I think we've gotten so addicted as a real estate community, social media. We just talk about the Fed, because as rates went up, we're going to unpack a little bit more about economic indicators, talk about banking and such. Let's keep going though. Let's talk about transaction volume. Where do we finish in 2024? And even more importantly, what can we expect in 2025 from your point of view?
Yeah, so 2024 is all but done. I think when the dust settles, we're going to do something between 3.9 and 4 million existing home sales. So it doesn't include new home sales. I saw Lawrence Yun, chief economist at National Associated Realtor the other day. He thinks we're going up 5% to 4.2 million. I'll take the other side of that trade. I actually think, and again, these don't give me warm and fuzzies to say, but I think 2025 will go down as the cycle low. I think there's a very good chance we do closer to 3.8 million. And again, a lot of that is banking on average mortgage rates at 7%. I do have good news for you. If you survive 25, 26 gets better. And if you haven't looked at my 54-year spreadsheet, this is back to the whole notion that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yep.
In the last cycle from 1978 to 82, we went from 4 million to 2 million. It was a 4-year collapse. And then we had 16 years of getting better. So it'll be a slow climb out, But the move from 82 to 83 was impressive. It went from 2 million to 2.7. So that's, a 25% increase. So I think 2026 will be way better than 25. And the good thing is, if you're in the business, it'll be like going to a buffet when there's no other consumers, because half your competition, 60%, 70% of your competition didn't survive this down cycle. So I want to give everybody who's in the business and struggling encouragement. Only 13 more months, and we get to the other side of this, in my opinion.
I would wholeheartedly agree. I think this market 2024 it's going to feel like a repeat in 2025. It's going to be a lot of the same. We'll talk more about inventory later, but I don't see inventory coming back in the same way. And I think, again, higher for longer rates, I think that slows it down. The thing, too, is that there was a mantra, and you and I talked about, we haven't talked about it in a while, but there was a mantra in commercial real estate, survive till 25. And I think for our realtor community, for people that are maybe loan officers or escrow officers or notary people that are attached to transactional real estate, residential real estate, it's now survive through 2025, survive through 2025. And that this 24 is going to be a new normal. We just got to get to the other side, which is 26.
Well, I love that. Survive through 2025. First time I've heard that. That is so well said. Nailed it.
Right on. Let's keep going. So pricing, what do you see? Do you see appreciation? Do you see a decline? Michael, wait. Michael, are we going to have a market crash?
Well, the good news about my price appreciation or depreciation call is it hasn't changed in 2 years. I fundamentally believe that we saw the decade of appreciation inside about 2.5 years. I correctly called, and I think you can call it now, correctly called that 2024 will be basically flat, right? Plus or minus 1-2%. And I see the same thing. We're so unaffordable, and the move-up buyer's not playing, and just all the stuff we've talked about. It's going to be a repeat year. I don't see any meaningful appreciation on the aggregate or the total. Does that mean some areas of Florida won't go down 10%? No, of course not. If you have a buy box whose inventory has exploded and affordability is still bad, of course prices are going to come down. I don't play at that, single city level. I play in Fresno, where I have a buy box. I play in Henderson, and then I talk national. And national, no, it's going to be another flat year median home price.
I would completely agree, echo that. And I'll just add my realtor broker hat on, and that I just think the market is weird, and that you will see, right? Like you'll see some properties that will set on the market 30, 60, 90 days, and they'll chase the market with price reductions. And so you could say, well, yeah, okay, that property came down 10% or 12 or 18 or whatever the number is, based on, a high of what would 2 or 3 years ago were.
Right.
But also, too, there's other properties that are very stable. And even to my surprise, I looked at some markets even above the median in some markets where just because they have low inventory and it's a highly desired area, that they're very stable in pricing and still selling below 30 days. Yeah. So I would describe pricing as probably weird, and that for somebody who's an expert, if you really understand pricing and understand your markets, you're going to have high value in this 2025 year coming.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's very clear, again, that we got right is, there may be some properties who take huge, gigantic price cuts, but those are going to be luxury properties. It would not shock me to routinely hear about 7-figure price drops. But here's the deal, folks. Even a 7-figure price drop on a luxury property yanks the median home price higher, right? The median home price is not based on price discounts. It's based on the list of properties that sold from lowest to highest, and you pick the middle number.
Yep.
So we're going to see some crazy luxury price discounts in 25, but that's going to do nothing but yank the median price higher.
Completely agree. Let's keep going. Let's talk about active inventory. What do you see? I mean, we have basically gone through the tightest inventory I've seen in 30 years. I would say weird, very, very weird, because even you have stuff that's sitting, not selling. You have expired listings coming back a little bit, canceled listings coming back again with failed expectations. What do you see with active inventory in 2025?
I think 2025 active inventory probably builds 15 or 20% at the national level. Basically what we did in 24. Again, what we're really seeing is we're getting back to a normal market. Like National Association of Realtors reported yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, I forget, 4.2 months supply. I think we're going to be close to 5 months supply. I think inventory goes up from here. Affordability is undefeated, right? It's going to be slow. We're going to have more listings. To that end, we'll have more expireds. We'll have more cancellations. It's just going to be a slow year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't see inventory coming back. I know that people are hopeful, but I just don't see how inventory unlocks if a high percentage, let's call it 80% plus of people with mortgages have a 2, a 3, even a 4 handle on it.
Yeah.
I just don't see those people trading up. I think the trade up buyer's gone, which means that seller is not in the market in 2025 again. That's pretty obvious. And I think that inventory probably comes from, I think we will see some short sales because I think people bought wrong in the last 2 or 3 years that maybe bought with FHA, low down, whatever the case may be. I think we will see a very marginal tick up in pre-foreclosures, defaults, trustee sales for no other reason that people bought more than they could afford, maybe.
Yeah.
So I do see that, but I don't see anything that's going to move the needle in quote unquote, we're going to still be low inventory. Would you agree, Michael? Or
yeah, I think the move up buyer is out of the market. It's really funny. We actually have evidence now. We saw a little bit of the move buyer come back when rates were basically 6%. It was slight, but it was true. We're nowhere near that. And the move up buyer's just not in the market at 7%. So until we get those people back, it's really hard to see existing home sales increase meaningfully. Because again, there are 2 transactions. They're a sale and a buy. So until the move up buyer unlocks, and again, I don't think that comes until 26, 27, low transactions expected. Let's keep going. So let's talk about, is there a recession brewing? There seems to be a lot of fear. That was talked about all year. We didn't see it. GDP was pretty marginal and weak, right? Like, yeah,
what happens?
I would say one of the calls that I got wrong and got wrong twice was recession calls, right? I love to celebrate when I get things right, but I'll own it when I got things wrong. And, the recession didn't happen. I have kind of pivoted to kind of the idea of a rolling recession. We've talked about that a bunch the last year. So I'm not making a recession call again, right? Already got 2 wrong. I will just say this. I think the first half of 2025, I am nervous about. I think there's a lot of unknowns. I think there's a lot of stuff that could unravel in the first half. Joseph Wang and I talked about Fed guy. He's nervous, right? Last year, he called S&P 500. He called the 6,000 and got it. He called crash up. He's telling me he's nervous about the first half. So I'm nervous about the first half. So I think there's a good chance the stock market has some significant pain in 2025, the first half.
Yeah. Let's talk about let's talk about stock market. Let's just go there. 2 things that I want to unpeel here. So if we look at the stock market and then even like something that nobody's talked about, but if we look back just a short time ago, banks were failing. Mm-hmm. We had a bank crisis. I don't know that you covered this on the Daily Financial News, but forgive me, but I know that the FDIC chairman voluntarily stepped down. I think that he was going to be replaced. They said it had to do with some internal culture things, or he said some inappropriate things, but I don't know. Is there more to it? What do you see with the stock market and potentially even a banking crisis?
So we'll do the stock market first because they're really separate. Warren Buffett is somebody that I followed for a long time, and he has this thing called the Buffett rule. And if you look at the charts, the Buffett rule is in an extreme level, meaning overvalued or richly valued or whatever, price per perfection, whatever vocabulary you want. And I just don't know how we can keep going at this level for much longer. It's got to come off, in my opinion. And again, there's this whole saying, the market can remain irrational more than you can remain liquid. I get it. It could certainly go higher from here. But when I look at the odds, I think the odds of a meaningful correction in the first half of the year are pretty good.
Okay.
Banking crisis. That one's interesting. If you would have asked me a couple of days ago, I would have probably been more adamant that, yeah, we're in for round 2. But I read a really interesting article that was well sourced on the Real Deal. And it talked about commercial real estate, multifamily, because that's where I thought the pain would come. And basically what the article did a really good job of highlighting is banks are extending, but they're not pretending, which is an interesting twist. They're not pretending. They're not like looking the other way. They're making these operators buy rate caps. They're making them do cash in refis. They're making sure they're still making their payments, but they're just extending. And why is that interesting? Well, banks are enjoying a lot of profit because they're getting these payments and they're higher than they were before. So as long as the operators are maintaining payments and rate caps and those things, I think banks will be in a position to extend longer. That said, I think there's a lot of deals that just need to be cleaned up with foreclosures. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe I thought a month ago. There's still going to be opportunity. There's plenty of Class B and Class C that will be re-foreclosed on. But Class A is already retrading. I mean, it's very clear that Ken McElroy, Grant Cardone's, those kind of top tier operators, they're already buying deals. I mean, Ken McElroy bought a deal that's like 5 miles from my house. And he got a, near as I can tell, got a great deal. So Class A is already retrading. I still think there will be some bank consolidation, but maybe not the crazy crisis I thought a month ago. So upon further review, I've changed my opinion slightly.
Okay. And that's interesting because as a kid, I was interested in real estate. I remember RTC, Resolution Trust Corp. I remember the banking crisis, properties, foreclosures, auctions, all of that in commercial real estate, specifically with RTC.
Me too. Yeah.
And it's interesting that probably in this case, banks are being preemptive and that they're not just setting back and letting things unfold, but they're actually not pretending, which is, I think, very well said. Extend, but not pretend. Very, very well said. Yeah. Let's talk about the Fed. What do you see? What happens in 2025? Fed policy, rate cuts, neutral rate.
Oh, there's so much here. And this is where you really got to pay attention. So first and foremost, let's close out 24. I think the Fed gives their last cut in December. I'm going to just call it. So let's call it a quarter. So assuming that happens, Ty, I really think we could go all of 2025 with 0 cuts, assuming we get a December cut. If we don't in December, we'll probably get it in January. So there's one more cut left, and then they're on hold.
Yep.
I actually think, again, assuming they do in December, I think there's a better than 50-50 chance the first move is up, not down.
Interesting.
Think about that.
Wow.
Now it's not, it's not 90-10. It's like 51-49. I just don't think people are watching. And that's why I'm particularly nervous about the first half, because we could see a return of inflation, right? If tariffs are, not or mistreated or handled maybe too egregiously. If we have lots of tax cuts that could create more demand in liquidity. I mean, there's just lots of things that could come very early that might cause the Fed to have to raise rates.
Interesting.
If we get an inflation print at like 3.5, they're going to react, right? That's way above 2, right? They're not going to let it go back to 9.1 like last time. They made that mistake already. So, and then neutral rate. That is such an amazing question. I want to give credit to Michelle Bowman. She was the brave soul who stood up to the Fed in their first cut meeting and said, no, I don't agree with 50 basis points. She was the first dissenter in like a decade or something. And she was basically saying, guys, the neutral rate is 4, not 3. And over the last 3-4 weeks, we've heard more and more Fed presidents kind of agree with Michelle. So I think what's happening is you're seeing the Fed slowly move the neutral rate or R star to we're having a 4 handle. And guess what? We have a 4 handle now. So what does that mean? That means the Fed's a lot closer to neutral than they thought 8 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So hence less rate cuts, hence the chance of an up, not down. It's higher for longer, kind of where we started.
Higher for longer. So none of this is a surprise to me. I think in the community, and when I think community, I think you got investors, you've got the new person who maybe is looking for their first deal, or they've got some deal. They got their first deal. They're looking for their next deal, or they're looking for their 8th deal, whatever the case may be. A lot of people, I think, had maybe a little bit of expectation that 2025 was going to be, oh, thank God we got here. Now it's going to be better. Let's talk about in terms of what do you mindset wise, what should be the mindset? And this is a curveball. We didn't talk about this pre-roll, and I still have some more talking points, but what is the mindset for somebody that's just a little bit maybe scared right now based on, because I think that's appropriate. People might be a little nervous based on what we've delivered so far.
Well, I think there's 2 answers to that question. I'll answer both. If you're in the business of real estate and you are paid on transactions, all I could tell you is what Ty said earlier is the mindset you have to have. Survive through 25. The good news is there's only 13 months to get there. And you've already survived 2.5 years. It's 13 more months. And I would get a calendar and I would just whack them off and just watch the time get better by 26. To be clear, you're still going to do business. We're still going to do 3.8 million transactions. You're still going to have a buyer's markets for investor. There's still going to be lots of opportunity to set yourself up as a unique provider of service. So be encouraged. Feel free to stand up. Feel free to level up. And know that 2026 is going to feel like a buffet in my experience with very little other consumers. So there's that. Now, mindset of investor. I think the buyer's market extends at least through the summer. And there's a chance it goes all year. And as a real estate investor, as one rental at a time, as do the work, buy box, all of that, your job is to level up. Your job is to write offers, disrespectful, follow up, understand how to use creative financing, understand that your job is to find a motivated seller. And if I'm right about 2025, every month it will get easier and easier and easier and easier to find motivated sellers. You should be excited. That does not give you permission to be freaking lazy. That does not give you permission to ignore the process. In fact, it should get you excited to do the process even more. Your job is to get your great deal in the next 13 months. And if you're lucky, get 2. We're not talking about getting 100. We're talking about getting 1 or 2 to change your life. Buyers markets are rare. We are in one now. It probably extends to the summer, could extend for the year. So enjoy, but don't be lazy. Don't cheat the process. Don't let this go. Do the work.
I love it. I would echo that in that, simply said, I have a great mentor, the late, great Mr. Bill Mitchell. He was a high-level executive at the Irvine Company, Newport Beach. He actually was a strong mentor I met he was a mentor of Tom Ferry and somebody that I met and became acquainted and friends with through Tom Ferry. And he had this great saying that he said that I remembered clear as day 30 years ago in a similar market in the mid-90s, in that highest paid hard work, lowest paid low work, real estate. Highest paid hard work, lowest paid low work, meaning that if you're not working hard, the pay is very low. You should be better off to get a different job. Mm-hmm. If you're willing to work hard, it's the highest paid, and that the way I would say that in 2025, 24, it's separation season.
Yeah.
I see people right now that are working their face off and they are pulling away, dominating, having the best years, the best 23 and 24, growing their business versus their business shrinking. And then there's everyone else that's still scratching their head trying to figure it out. And so a lot of opportunity if you're willing to work hard. Let me ask you, Michael, new construction, we did not cover, and I think it's important. What do you see in new construction? What are your thoughts there for 25?
Well, I'll give you two answers there as well. The first one is, again, something we got right, and I called this way back with Lance Lambert about a year, maybe even 18 months ago. I said, given what's going on in the market with commercial banks, we're going to see separation season. The big are going to get bigger, and the little and mid guys are going to struggle. It's going to be hard. And to that end, we just saw an acquisition from Lennar. Lennar, one of the big boys, one of the big 6, 7, 8 guys. They just bought Roche Coleman Homes, who's an not a tiny operator, operates in 7 states, does about 5,000 homes a year. You got to remember Lennar's doing like 80,000 a month or a quarter. But we're going to see that continue. I think the big are going to get bigger. They're going to gobble up the medium players, you know, the 2,000 to 10,000 operators. So that's step one. I think we're going to see the big boys flex their balance sheet. And then second, this might be more of a hope, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. I think the average square foot of product produced at the end of 25, as opposed to the beginning, is smaller and probably meaningfully smaller. I'm going to call it 8-10% smaller. And a lot of that is because I think one of the things that the new, president with Congress does is they attack entry-level housing, and they look to incentivize construction of smaller homes. So I think new construction goes smaller. And then lastly, I think new construction still competes with existing home sales. New home builders don't play at 7% mortgage rates. They play at 5%. So new construction, big get bigger, build smaller, sell more product because they're playing at 5%, not 7%.
Smart. Spot on. So Michael, you've got an event coming up, Las Vegas. In fact, hold on. I just twisted Michael's arm. I paused the recording to twist his arm. I'm like, dude, we got to do a Black Friday special tell them about the event. Tell them about the event, Las Vegas. What's going on? What's the opportunity? Tell them about the event in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so we're doing the second annual ORAD event in Vegas, 15th and 16th. It's going to be 2 full days of like nothing else. You're going to be around 400 other amazing folks. You're going to get the ability to interact with speakers. You're going to get ability to ask speakers questions, which is very different. Nobody's selling anything. And it's just a place to celebrate, get to meet the people online that you've established relationships with. Lots of couples are coming because, again, we're doing couples to start Saturdays, couples to start Sunday, because we're all in this together. And there's general admission and VIP. It's 50% sold out. We're selling tickets a lot faster now because we're under 90 days. It's like 80 days away or something. So buy your tickets. Lots of you have told me you're coming. If you wait much longer, there's a chance it will be sold out. Let me be very clear. The facility holds 400. The facility holds 400. It doesn't hold 450, doesn't hold 500. I'm going to the maximum size. So we are selling all the tickets and there will be no extras. If you miss, you miss. This is not like last year where I added 25 because the demand was so high. We're going all out. So it's something you're not going to want to miss.
Folks, buy your tickets. You can go to Eventbrite. There'll be a link in the YouTube channel underneath and the info below. Michael, thank you for all that you do. Have a great weekend.
All right, buddy. Take care.